Welcome back to the Gone Holden Football Channel. Today, I'm delighted to welcome Matisse onto the channel. Matisse, how are you, and how are you feeling after that 4-2 demolition of Brighton at the weekend?
Yeah, bro. It's a pleasure. I'm very good. Especially when, like you said, demolition, man. Because really, I think it should have been 6 or 7 when you
Yeah,
look at the chances. When I watched the game back, I was looking at all the opportunities we had. Obviously, some good late clearances off the line and whatnot. But yeah, we could have won that by even more. So very happy, man, and very much looking forward to this. Big up.
nice one. Yeah, even Palmer said himself he could have had about 6, so could have been more for just him. Let's get into the
Mm,
hot takes. So we've taken 5 comments from everyone on Twitter. Thanks for everybody that put all the comments in for us to take. There was too many to go with, so I'm going to flash a few up on screen, maybe merge a few together, and we'll go over 5 of them. So let's hit the smash the like button on this video as well, please. And let's get into the comments. The first one we're going to go with is a few people saying, so it's a few different things combined for this one. Wesley Fofana is a flop, was one of the comments. And one of them was basically saying he shouldn't start. Another comment stated that Disasi and Colwill was our best centre back pairing, which I massively disagree with, but we're going to get into
mm.
that. Another comment which said Cole and Fofana have the potential to be the best centre back pairing in the league. So two on the massive, like different ends of the spectrum. For
Yeah.
me, I'm further towards that second point where I actually think Cole and Fofana have perfectly balanced sort of attributes. I think they could really be one of the top centre back pairings in the league. But I'd like to see what end of that spectrum do you fall on with Fofana, especially?
Well, not the first one, that's for sure.
Yeah,
We need to remember that Fofana's been out for years, so we have to put an asterisk next to at least the first 6 months of the season. In my opinion, I'm more pleasantly surprised and shocked that he's been able to play the amount of minutes that he's played, because most other players that have struggled with injuries, whether it be in Cuckoo, Pedro Neto, the manager's giving them 30 minutes, 60 minutes, or he's playing them in cup games. I expected that for Fofana. I expected him to more play the Conference League games actually and leave the Premier League for the first few months, but it's gone the other way. So we have to remember that, because 2 years basically out is ridiculous. And he's had a couple of good games, he's had a couple of wobbles, but that's to be expected. So I'm definitely a lot more on the positive spectrum, especially when I was really impressed with the player I saw before he signed for us, which was the debut season from Saint Etienne at Leicester. He was basically borderline team of the year performance levels. Obviously played us in the FA Cup final, probably man the match in my opinion that day. So that's the kind of Fofana that I'm hoping that we can get back, but it's going to take time. So people have to be patient with that. I'm not one to just scream patience for no reason, but in that specific situation, you absolutely have to be patient, because you're not going to get a world-class, starting 11 French international type level of Fofana after a few months. It's not even possible. So as long as he's fit, I think that's a massive, massive win. In regards to being the best in partnership, I think there's still a long way to go. Long way to go, because when you talk about the best partnership, we're basically speaking about Gabriel and Saliba and Konate and Van Dijk, and they've done a lot of serious work as parents. But yeah, if they can tighten up on the physical side of things and they become I think on the ball, there's no problem there whatsoever. I think pace wise, Fofana's, if he can get back to the level he was before, he's got the pace. It's more the strength and the aerial dominance. If we can get that from them, then yeah, they'll be up there.
yeah, I completely agree. Like you say with Fofana, it's worth giving him the time. He's shown his physical capabilities are through the roof. Once he's back to that full fitness, he's recovery speed. He's got everything for the Premier League. And as you said as well, just his first season before he even joined Chelsea, he showed everything that you wanted to see from a centre back of that level. So yeah, like I say, I've said it in my videos before. I think Cole and Fofana have the perfect balance to go on. Cole as more of a sort of sitting and more cover behind Fofana, who can then be a bit more aggressive and really assert that dominance on the ball. So completely agree with that for sure. Definitely that end of the spectrum compared to the flop end. We'll give it that.
Hmm.
So for the second question, we've got Jackson's all-round game makes him the second best striker in the league. So bigger props for that one. That's a big thing to say about him. I love Jackson, but
Mm,
right. So I'm assuming like from this lens, we're saying Haaland number one,
of
like out the
course.
way. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then comes the question of, I guess, your Isaacs, your Watkins. I'd say Jackson's in that conversation. For me,
Mm.
I'd probably have Isaac second. Whereabouts would you rank Jackson, and what sort of like breadth of players would you put him in with?
Yeah, not second. I do, and I like Jackson, but
Yeah.
his finishing has got a lot of improvement to do before he can be the second best striker in this league. And I think if he is the second best with his finishing currently as it is, then that tells me that we don't have enough top world-class strikers in this league. Because, you know, years ago, you're talking Drogba versus Van Persie versus Aguero versus Tevez versus Rooney versus, you know what I mean? Like Kane,
Even your
Suarez,
Defoes, like even those
bro,
like
you know what I
outsiders,
mean?
like
So it's
yeah,
like, what's going on with the sport if we're talking about having basically then no world class strikers outside of Haaland in this league? I think,
yeah,
yeah, he's I with Jackson. I'm always one to big up those attributes that he brings because I think they're very underrated, and they're very important, and they help our attack stick and kind of tick. His link up, his hold up play, his selflessness. You know, to be honest, in fact, if anything, he should have been a bit more selfish over the weekend.
yeah.
At times, you know, he tried to play passes that weren't really on when he was going up against the keeper. But yeah, I wouldn't say second. I'd say Isak. I'd agree. I think he's getting there. He's probably top five because yeah, there's not many top strikers in the league. So I think for him to be top five already is really good. But we need those goals, man. We need that finishing to fix up first.
Yeah, I think you've hit a massive point on the head there as well. I think Haaland, if you're talking world class finishes in the league, you've pretty much got him on a pedestal of his own in terms of actual strikers. If anything, it's not strikers that are showing that, like your Salahs and even Palmer at this rate, that are showing that clinical ability that you'd want from your striker, but from other positions on the pitch. I think
Yeah.
apart from that, Isaac, Watkins, like I say, I think Jackson is probably a top five purely based on the other attributes that he brings to the game outside of his composure and finishing inside the box, which has got slightly better. But as you also said, I think it's got a long way to go. Let's get into the third one. So I think, again, this is a bit of a reach, but we're going to go with it. Jadon Sancho is our Hazard regen. And then I've also got and then I've also got another comment, which is Sancho's a world class footballer. So I think we can have more of a conversation about that because as much as I really have enjoyed the start that Sancho's made to life at Chelsea, and he's brought so much of what I enjoy from a winger in terms of that creative passing that he can bring and that ability that he brings us to get into the box when we don't really have the space to get into the box.
Yeah.
But to call him a Hazard region, of course, that's why this is hot takes. Not quite that level, but how have you felt about Sancho's start?
Brilliant. I think first of all, definitely not a Hazard regen. Let's be respectful of Eden Hazard. First of all, I'm not even going to say a long way to go because I just don't even think he can hit that level. So let's just leave it at that. But as a player, really technically secure. He'll absolutely clog up key passes, for fun, box entries, all of those things that may lead to an assist, like we've seen for 3-3, or may not sometimes, but he'll be involved. And one thing with him is that he keeps attacks flowing. He never kills attacks. He always finds the right solution. He always finds the right pass. He has good IQ, and he is a very talented footballer. First, that's what we were seeing at Dortmund. It wasn't that he's a Bundesliga merchant or he's got blistering pace. He needs space to operate in. He's actually very good in tight spaces. He's very good at linking up. That's how that City Academy kind of link comes in again for him, being someone that came from that academy. And now at Chelsea, it feels like he's got people on his wavelength. And that's something he didn't have at Manchester United. So when we signed him, it was like up here. Is his game is all about up here, and off the pitch, people have said up here, is he focused, is he motivated, whatever the reasons are, and his game is all about mental as well. So as long as that was sorted, then the feet will do the talking, because yeah, he's always been talented. He didn't get £100 million move because he was fortunate, but yeah, at the same time, we also need to see this for a whole season. We need to see this consistently. It's very early on, so we just kind of just enjoy it while we're getting the performances. But what we're looking for now next from him would be Anfield after the international break. Can you go and make a big statement in a game like that where we are gonna need players to stand up? And if it is Cole Palmer, great. If it's not, will it be you? And that's because yeah, the talent's there. So let's see.
Yeah, I think you make a good point as well with the mental state and like just sort of how I think this is the perfect environment for him to almost sort of propel his career back to the top. He's almost against the odds in terms of he's come into a club where everything in terms of the media had been sort of trying to sink the Chelsea ship. He's obviously been tainted with that Manchester United time, the Ten Hag argument, whether his like sort of is tainted on his name if he's got the sort of commitment. And now he comes to a club where he was a boyhood Chelsea fan. He has got Joe Shields at the club and Enzo Maresca, which he both knows. Like if there's any sort of environment that he's going to want to succeed in and prove people wrong, I feel like it is Chelsea. So
Yeah.
great start so far. And like you said, hopefully he can stand up in one of the big moments and maybe net one against Man U. That would be brilliant.
Years ago,
Is
I
he allowed to
wanted
play
him.
that because of the loan?
Good
I've only just
question.
thought. I've literally
Yeah.
just thought about
that. I mean, it's funny because it's a loan, but it's literally an obligation, and it's literally going to happen because it was like top 14 finish or something. And it's I don't know. I mean, Man United, Ten Hag, did they rate him highly enough to kind of put that clause in? We'll have to see. But I remember years ago, I wanted Sancho when we had Hudson-Odoi, and it was like Sancho is a big thing, hashtag and whatnot. And they're both so similar in the way that they've been able to kind of have their impacts in their different teams, but they're very intelligent wingers. They're very good. I mean, Sancho's a great passer, great weight of pass. Everyone says all of his assists are 5 yards. Do you know why? Because he's not looking for the Hollywood ball. He's not looking for the Hollywood pass. He's actually receiving it in the touchline, working his way to the box with his intelligence, and then just playing the simple pass. And then Hudson-Odoi was always a great crosser, and could find those aerial passes as well, those switches. So yeah, man, it's a shame that it didn't work out, because if it wasn't for that big injury for him, I think they would have been a brilliant wing pairing.
Yeah, I remember that entire hashtag going on Twitter where it was like Hudson-Odoi on one wing, Sancho on the other. I wanted that so bad as well. Let's get into number 4. This one is a little bit longer and it's got a few caveats to it, I feel. But so due to a lack of height and athleticism in certain areas, Cucurella will most likely need to be upgraded to give the side extra balance in the future. The person that said this did go on to say not to be sold, but still to use Cucurella, but to have more of a competition for that role and have somebody in that. So to bring to that before we get into it, you've got Vega, who pretty much is that, right? Who's got a bit more height, a bit more athleticism, and I think he started brilliantly. I think he's another one that, again, I did a lot of scouting stuff on him before he'd even joined. I thought he looks brilliant, and I think he's looked the part so far.
Yeah,
there's been links to Lakiba from Leipzig, who's another type of that, and the modern day is sort of going in that mold of these centre back, full back hybrids that have that height and power to give you a bit more tactical flexibility. You've seen it with Arsenal and Calafiori, Man City and Guardiola. So I see the point, but I also really think that Cucurella is really important to this team, like more so than some people give credit. So sort of where do you stand with Cucurella, and could you see sort of a world where we do need to upgrade on him purely to add physicality to the side?
First of all, buzzing with his performances. He's been brilliant. Obviously, we had a great Euros, unbelievable performances for Spain, and then comes in this season and just carries on, literally just carries on where he left off. Cucurella is always one of those players that he's got some good attributes and he's showing them. He's got tenacity. The manager made that clear in the presser. He's a smooth passer along the ground. He's inverting and he's using, he's using all of his best attributes right now. But as a club, we also shouldn't get too caught up in what's happening right now, because, and I hate to make the comparison, but it's very similar to Arsenal, where they were making those steps and they'd found their manager that represented them. And maybe that's the guy with Maresca, right? The way he's talking, the way that he's kind of taken on the responsibility of Chelsea manager early doors. But Zinchenko was really good. Jesus was really good, got them into that next phase, and then they upgraded. And you never know. Right now, yeah, he is playing really well, but I get this the physicality side. I also get the fact that just taken away from the modern game where you are looking at centre backs move or full backs moving into midfield. If you even wanted someone overlapping and giving crossing and giving that athleticism on that side, that's something that he doesn't. He's not. It's not his strength. He actually kind of makes those inverted runs, and he's doing really well with those right now. But we all know that we could have a more expressive or a more athletic, more attack-minded left back in that position. People wanted Alphonso Davies not so long ago, and that was never really realistic. But that would be, an option. Not as good defensively as Cucurella, but obviously going forward. So I don't think he's guaranteed to always be a starting 11 player in this team. But if he keeps playing this way and we compensate with height elsewhere, maybe in the DM position, or if Okachuku somehow gets an opportunity, or we could compensate in other areas and we'd be fine. So it's not like as if in the air he goes missing. When he's fully focused, he does challenge in the air. He does get up. Yeah, he gets up there. So I think it's one of those where he just needs to have a good season, consistent the whole way through. We spent a lot of money on him, so and he makes good money as well. So it's in our best interest and in his that he needs to be locking that position down. And I wouldn't rule out Renato Vega being the guy to be exactly the profile that was just mentioned. As soon as he was signed, even though I had not watched him really at all for apart from little clips, I just had a good feeling. I had a good feeling about that signing. It just made a lot of sense, profile wise, money spent, his experience in midfield for Basel, and then his height and his physicality, and he's a bit of a shithouse as well. We're seeing it. Yeah. Loves to get into a tackle. I'm really excited about him as well. So I think we have our options there already. To be honest, we'll see what way it goes, but I'm happy with that position right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And do you know what else I love about Vega? It's the geeing up the crowd and bits like that. I think he just gets it. He just feels like one of those. A lot of people keep saying it on Twitter as well, like how he's got that sort of fan favorite sort of aura about him. I don't like that word, but there we go. He's got that. He does feel like he gets it. He understands what it is to be at Chelsea, and he just enjoys it. And like even in the crowd for celebrations, I love that. So yeah, Vega, very exciting. So the last question we're going to get into. And again, you mentioned a bit about Maresca, so we'll speak about him. And again, I think this is one a bit like the Hazard comparison. I think it's way too early to jump, but we'll go for it. Enzo Maresca is the third best manager in the league behind only Pep and Arteta. So they've put it this way. Obviously, you've got your Emerys, who I'd have above him, who've got that sort of, they've already done it. Then you've got people that are in the boat already with him, so maybe an Ange, he has had the year as well, but Iriola at Bournemouth, even Slot coming into Liverpool, and
Eddie Howe has to be respected as well.
I was going to put the next section, like the next few I was going to mention is like Eddie Howe, Frank at Brentford, again for a different reason, different styles of manager, but for what they've done in the past. So again, I'll sort of just caveat with it to go, firstly, how impressed are you with Maresca in his first few months? And then I guess if you want to try and where would you put him? What sort of management?
Yeah, it's a hot take, but it's a hot take. I think he's in that group with, like, Emery has to be ahead right now. He has to have his respect. He's got Aston Villa in the Champions League, and they look like they're going to be consistent this season. I know they drop points at the weekend. That's always going to happen. Top four is going to have those results, but he's really done very well with that team there. So that has to be respected as well. He's in that, he's in that group everybody's in that group under Pep. Arteta's still in that group for me. He's probably leading that group, but he's still in that group. Emery, for me, Emery will be leading that group, then Arteta, and then Slot and Maresca and Eddie Howe and all these guys. And I think it's a hot take, but it's a take that for sure in 18 months you could be easily, proven
it could
right.
Be vindicated.
Vindicated for sure, because all Maresca needs to do, and it sounds like all he needs to do, but it's difficult. He just needs to win the Premier League before those guys, because Pep, if he wins it this season, everybody stays where they are in terms of that group. Slot, Arteta, as long as none of those guys get a Prem this season, then next season, if we develop this season the way we are trying to, top four with a trophy, for me, we should be going for the league next year. I don't see why, no reason why not. So then it's you. Then it's, especially if Pep leaves, then it's probably you versus Arteta. It's you versus Slot. It's you versus whoever is going for that title, and obviously the new City manager. But that's when you get to prove if you are the second or wherever third best manager in the league. That's when you're going to get to prove it. So it's not something he can prove this season. I'll be honest, because I don't think we're going to finish in the top three. I still keep my prediction of us having fourth. But also, we're not the same side as Liverpool. He's not been here as long as Arteta, so it's not even a fair comparison anyway. But hopefully 25, 26 is when he gets to prove he's the best, the second best in the league. And really, it could be the best in the league, because if Pep has his last season and he leaves, then it will be who wants to be the best manager in the league. And
like you say,
go for it.
Open competition at that point.
Yeah, 100%.
I like that. I think that's a nice positive way to end it, because I love Maresca. I love the job he's done. I was advocating for him at the start of the season as well, and I'm just so happy with how it's gone. But I think everybody must be happy with how it's gone. I don't think even the people that were as high on Maresca as they were, I think even they would probably be surprised at how quickly and how good some of the results have sort of came, even in games where we haven't looked as good against Bournemouth, for example. Just winning a game ugly and just getting the points on the board is just really nice to see. So I think we'll leave it on that one. Thank you very much, Matisse, for joining us today. Make sure you go check out Matisse in the comments down below. We'll leave his link down there. I'm sure you've already seen his channel before, but we'll leave it down there. Show him some love. Do hit the like button on this video to help me out as well, and I'll see you guys in the next one.